Hello, everyone. Welcome. We're going to go ahead and get started right away. So welcome. My name is Dexter Carlson, Assistant Director of Events and Programs with UChicago Alumni. And on behalf of our careers team, I want to thank you for joining us for Set Yourself Up for Promotion in 2022. This event is part of the Career Month series all November long and features webinars, workshops, and networking opportunities, all led by alumni and friends at the top of their fields or experienced career coaches who are ready to share key lessons about professional development. As a note, all attendees are muted during this meeting, but we encourage you to engage with what you're hearing in the chat and share a question at any time throughout the event, and we'll have some time for feedback and breakout rooms. The recording will be shared with registrants via email early next week. So I'll kick off today's event by introducing our amazing alumnus speaker, Amy Gardner. Amy is a certified career and career transitions coach and team development and leadership consultant with Apochromatik. She coaches lawyers and other professionals in one-on-one and small group masterminds and delivers workshops for employers. Her work draws on her unique experience as Dean of Students at the law school and a successful career practicing law, first as a BigLaw associate and later as an associate and then partner at a mid-sized Chicago firm. She received her BA from Luther College, her JD from the University of Chicago Law School, and received an MA in Public Policy and Administration from Northwestern University. Her service to the university has included serving as the president of the Alumni Club of Chicago and vice president of the Alumni Board of Governors, and has been recognized by her receipt of the Young Alumni Service Award. Her career and goal achievement advice has been featured in media, including ABA publications, Bustle, Corporette, Glassdoor, Health, Monster, NBC, and Women's Running Magazine. So now, without further ado, Amy, the floor is yours.
Great, thank you, Dexter. First of all, thank you everybody for joining us. I am going to warn you that we are going to do some breakout rooms. There's going to be some interactive elements, and I'm going to ask that you turn your cameras on. And I appreciate if you're, trying to eat lunch or something, this may not be the moment you want to turn your camera on, but otherwise I just feel like I am yelling into the void. So I encourage you to turn your camera on so I'm not entirely alone in this. There we go. Thank you. Thank you. I also want to introduce Keith Spirrell, who is with me. He's my partner in Apochromatik, as well as my spouse, who've actually been married for 20 years. Keith is going to help me with some of the IT stuff, that the fact that I call it the IT stuff tells you why Keith is here to help with this particular project. So, and I know that some of you have probably attended some of his webinars in the past. Before we jump into breakouts and all of that, I am going to also tell you, if you don't come to a lot of Zoom programs, you may not realize I'm going to share some slides. I do that not because there's anything earth-shattering on the slides, but just because for those of you who are visual learners, I know it's more helpful to have something that you can look at. So if you are not a person who enjoys PowerPoint slides, remember, if you don't already know this, you can adjust how much space on the screen those slides are taking up. And I encourage you to do that if the slides drive you batty. So here we go. All right, so hopefully you can see just the title slide. Can you give me a thumbs up if you can see that? All right, great, thank you. So we're here to talk about how you can set yourself up for promotion in 2022. So let's, you already heard some about me, so I will not bore you with more of that. As Dexter said, so two things she didn't mention, I live in Chicago, where it's like 60 degrees today, which is sort of false advertising because it's about to get cold again. And in non-pandemic times, I enjoy traveling, as you can see from some of those pictures. All right, so what we're going to do in our time together, we're going to talk about factors to consider in deciding whether to pursue a promotion, because quite honestly, pursuing a promotion just for the sake of pursuing a promotion may not make sense for you. So we're going to talk about what you should consider. If you decide you want to pursue a promotion right now, what you should be doing right now to put yourself in a better spot for that. And then we're going to talk about how to approach the new year with a promotion in mind. So those are the three things that we're going to cover. And before we jump into that, let's just get a sense of who is with us today. So I'm going to launch a poll. It's just 2 questions. And if you could answer that, that will just help us to know who's in the room. And I should mention that if you're not familiar with the Zoom polls, your answers are anonymous. So no one will know who answered in what category. It's just for me to get a sense of where to focus our time. So we'll just give it a second for people to do that. And if you're already done with the poll, I should note Dexter's put a link in the chat if you want to register for more career month events that are coming up. Okay, so we have about 75% of the people in, so we'll take another 5 seconds to let people be heard. All right, so here are the results. That's with about 75% of people weighing in. Hopefully you can see those. About a quarter of you have identified a specific role that you know you're going to go for in the new year. A third, kind of 50-50, maybe you will, maybe you won't. Then I probably won't go for a promotion in 2022, but figured you might as well log on. All right, and about 40% of you there. And then the last time I received a promotion, pretty even distribution of folks at various points, maybe haven't been promoted quite yet, or may have had a more recent promotion. So that is all helpful information. So thank you all for sharing that. All right. So we have a sense of who's in the room. We've outlined what we're going to do. So let's just get some background on what we're looking at for right now. And that is that, unfortunately, it's a little bit more difficult to get a promotion today than it was pre-pandemic. And there was a study actually of 2,000 UK professionals that was conducted by How Now, and it found that less than 25% of those polled were promoted, had a promotion on their team in 2020 versus 72% in 2019. So obviously a pretty stark difference. The most common age group to get promoted in 2020 was actually those between 35 and 44. So not necessarily brand new in their careers. And those over 55 were the least likely to get promoted, just about 15%. And then people who were between 25 and 34 are actually the ones who right now are most actively looking to switch jobs. So that I think adds another layer to all this. And I should say that the same numbers roughly apply to the US and worldwide. LinkedIn actually found that throughout 2020, promotions remained about 40% below a year earlier, even though hiring has rebounded in most industries from the earlier slumps. And then just one more point on this too, to understand for the background, is that for a lot of promotions, they're not necessarily coming with pay raises right now. We are seeing that when possible, most employers who are granting promotions are then backdating pay raises, even if they aren't giving one immediately. But it still is the case that the number of promotions being given right now without pay raises is significantly higher than it was pre-pandemic. Fred actually raised a great point in the chat, which is he's wondering if there's a link between people not getting promoted in their current jobs and the Great Resignation in which people leave their companies. Absolutely. We hear that from our clients all the time, that they're just deciding there's no opportunity for them to get promoted. I just talked to a potential client yesterday who was given a quote unquote promotion, which was additional job title, more or less double the work. And the salary bump was, let's just say, minuscule. And so even in the face of a promotion, she just decided no. So I do think there's definitely a tie-in between whether people feel like there are opportunities to be promoted, whether they feel like their great work is being recognized in all the ways you can recognize great work besides promotions too. All right, so I want to share this article for you. It's from the Harvard Business Review from June. And the reason I'm offering that up on the screen is because throughout this time together, I'm going to cite some statistics. And unless I tell you otherwise, you should assume that those numbers come from research that was conducted by researchers at the Henley Business School and published in this Harvard Business Review article that is on your screen. It has I would say that the strategies they share about how to get promoted when you're in a work from home setting, they're different than what we're going to talk through, but the statistics from their research I'll be citing quite a bit. All right, so let's talk about factors to consider when deciding whether to go for promotion, because as I said, it may or may not make sense for you to do that right now. The first thing to consider is really, do you want to stay at your current employer? And the reason it's important to think that through is because, as we're going to talk about, if you decide to go for a promotion, it is not it's not an endeavor that has no cost, right? You're going to have to put more time and energy into working for a promotion than you might otherwise be putting in at work. And you need to consider whether that time and energy might be better put towards looking for a new role at a different employer. So I think it's important to consider whether you really want to stay. Now, that is not to say that some people don't decide to go for a promotion, even though they're planning on leaving that employer, believing that it will put them in a better spot to make a move to a different employer, right? So you get a promotion at your current employer, knowing that you're going to be looking for a job somewhere else. That can be a strategy as well. But if you are simultaneously trying to go for promotion at work and look for a new job, that can just be really difficult. And a common result is you end up doing neither thing particularly well. Another thing to think about is, as I mentioned, even if you get a promotion right now, it may or may not come with a pay raise. So that's something to think about. You also have to consider whether your employer is likely to have furloughs or layoffs, because what we have seen again and again over the last 2 years and before that is that if you are promoted, you might be the next candidate then, or the first candidate for a furlough or layoff or salary freeze. So that is something to consider, whether that might change the risks for you. And you might need to consider too, if your employer is allowing people at your level to work from home, but expects that senior staff are supposed to be in the office more days, it might change the demands on whether you are in the office more or less. So that's also something to think about. And then finally, we really think it's important to know your why. Why do you actually want a promotion? So what I'd like to do next is to give you a chance to weigh in is, Keith, if you can share the Menti for us. If you have not used Menti before, it's a way that you can offer your thoughts anonymously, and unlike a poll, we don't limit what you can put in there. So Keith is going to put a link in the chat, and you can just click on that and it'll open up another window, hopefully, and you'll be able to share your thoughts with us on why you want a promotion. And we'll give everybody a moment to do that. I see too, there's a question about, what counts as a promotion raise? What's the percentage of your former salary? Does a 4% raise with a promotion really count as a raise? I think, as Keith says, possibly. It really depends on the circumstances and what other value that promotion is bringing with it. So Eric says, I'm not seeing anything. It looks like other folks are seeing the link in the chat. If you have trouble with it, you can also just share your thoughts in the chat too. All right, so as you can see, your results coming in, it looks like about half the group. Okay, great, Eric got it. Half the group has weighed in on the Menti. And what it's doing is it's adjusting to see as more people weigh in. So you can see that money is obviously one of the top reasons that people want a promotion. We'll see compensation as well, higher salary. And then we see other things like feeling more connected, having more responsibility, more challenges. That's a really common thing in working with our clients, that they want more challenges, and that's why they decide to go for promotion. Recognition, challenge to establish myself, feeling like you're under-leveled or underemployed now, so you want to move up in that, feeling underutilized, being able to add more value. All right, give folks just one more second. Okay, feeling like they can have more organizational influence, progress, advancement, being able to make more decisions. Yeah, develop their skills. All right, good, good, good. I think that's just helpful as you think about your why, because as we'll talk about, some of these whys might be able to be met in different ways, depending on whether you are successful in looking for a new promotion or not, or getting a promotion or not. Great. All right. So let's jump back. All right, so let's switch gears a little bit. We're going to talk about what you can do right now to best position yourself for promotion in 2022. I'm going to walk you through 10 steps that you can start with to work towards a promotion. So first is to take ownership over your career and your ambition. And the reason I say this is because we often see that people will believe if I'm ready for a promotion, somebody will tell me, they'll come tap me on the shoulder and let me know. Or they think if there is something specific I need to do, like I need to work on management skills so that I'm ready for promotion, somebody will come let me know that. And then they'll tell me what to do and how to do it, or they will send me to the training that I need. And that would be wonderful. Like, wouldn't that be nice if we all worked in environments where people were so committed to our advancement and helping our careers? The reality is that we live in the real world. And as I just was saying in a video that we shared yesterday, no one will ever care more about your career than you do. And so it's important that you take ownership over that. If a promotion is important to you, that you just acknowledge and appreciate that the way that you're going to get that almost always is by taking ownership over your career and your ambition. And remembering too that if you don't ask for it, you are unlikely to get it. And I think that's an important backdrop to have. So next, as we think about how you can own your career and your ambition, the second step is really to think about what do you want to be known for? And this is really important if you are deciding to go for promotion, because just because a promotion might be available to you doesn't mean it's going to be consistent with the trajectory that you want for your career and really the things that you want to be known for. So I'd like to have you do an exercise, and this will require just a piece of paper and a pen, or you can also type it into your computer. And we're gonna have a couple minutes to do this. And I want to just preface this by saying that what you come up with today might be different tomorrow as you think about this, but the reason that we're going to spend some time on this together is to get you thinking about it and to plant that seed so that you can think about how you want to present yourself for a promotion and at work. So the first step to do this is very simple, and that's just to write down 3 of the strengths that you want to be known for. So you might be particularly good at something, but that doesn't mean that you want it to be part of what you're known for at work. So list 3 strengths. And then the second piece of this, which people often miss, whether it's in a job interview or asking for a promotion or a raise, is to tie it to why that matters really. What is the value that allows you to bring to that employer? So for example, if one of your strengths is that you are a quick learner, great, but what does that mean for the employer? Does that mean that then you are able to learn new tasks quickly and educate your peers? That's something where it adds value. So list 3 strengths and how they allow you to add value. And you've got 2 minutes. All right, so hopefully you have your list of your 3 strengths, and then you've written out how that helps you add value. So we're going to do the next step of this, which is to write out I am, and then list your strengths, and as a result, and list the ways in which you add value. So I am, write out the 3 strengths that you've identified, and as a result, and list the 3 ways that you add value. And we'll have 2 minutes to do that. All right, about 30 seconds. I should note too, if you need to tweak and you're realizing that the wording is sort of awkward, that's completely fine to tweak at this stage. Nothing you did at the last stage is written in stone. All right, so I said that part of this is really owning your ambition, taking control over your career. Part of this is also about knowing and owning your own value and being able to convey that, because as we'll talk about, when you're actually asking for promotion, you need to be able to explain the ways in which you add value, and you need to feel confident in doing that. So to help you get there, we're going to do a breakout room in a moment, and we're going to give everybody about 5 minutes and then a warning. And you'll be in a breakout group with about 2 other people. You never know how Zoom divides these up, but the idea is that you will introduce yourself. So you'll get to know one of your fellow alum or alumni or volunteers, and you'll get to introduce yourself and share the statement that you came up with. Now, if you're feeling like, yikes, I don't really want to turn my camera on and have to share this, that's all right. Then stay in this room. Do not accept the invitation to go in a breakout room, because if you go into the breakout room, your fellow attendees will be expecting you to share. All right, any questions about this before Keith sends us into our breakout rooms? All right, hearing none. Again, we'll have about 5 minutes before you get the warning. So kind of self-police your time limits. Just introduce yourself and share that statement. All right, let's jump back in, but I hope that was helpful to you as you think about how you can own your value and where your value is. And like I said, you may change this statement, in the next week or so, or maybe a month from now. You might think back and think, wait a minute, I left out this most important strength. That's fine. The idea is to get you thinking about it so that you can express that value that you bring when you ask for promotion, or if you are on the job market. Okay, so you want to identify the qualities and skills that you need to succeed. And this is put us in place to start doing that, right? As I mentioned, and as Fred demonstrated for us, it's not just about skills, it's also about qualities. So things like integrity, taking initiative, empathy, taking responsibility, humility, Fred's example of compassion, you want to identify those as well. And once you have a list of started thinking about that, you want to ask for feedback to see how you stack up against those. And you want to make sure that you're asking for feedback formally at least once a quarter. It shows that you're willing to improve, and it will help you time your request for a promotion. So I wanted to walk through some ways that you can do that. But actually, before we get there, let's talk about a little bit more about those skills. So one way that you can figure out those skills is to review job postings or descriptions for positions that might be at your level or 1 or 2 levels up, and not just on your team, so that you understand what your employer is saying that they're looking for, even though we know there could be discrepancies there. You can also figure out that skill list by asking to see the evaluation form that's used for your role. Hopefully you have that, but I know that that's not always the case. And if you can get the annual review forms that are used for roles that are 1 or 2 levels up, great. Some employers are better about others than being willing to share that, but that can be really helpful too. And then you want to make that list of skills. So just to get everybody thinking about it, let's do one more Menti. And I invite you to just share what is one area you know right now that you need to improve before you can get promoted. And Keith has the link for us there in the chat. Keith, can you share that screen for us? You can see what everybody's coming up with. All right, probably need to network and work on my social skills. Adverse to conflict, being nice. The drive to completion or push for results. Supervisory skills, get more visibility. Good, we're about to talk about that. Self-promotion, decisiveness, experience. Then specifically software program training. Being more assertive and self-confident, ability to socialize my ideas and gain buy-in, build relationships, data analysis skills, time management, building management skills, owning my success. Good, well, hopefully you found the last 10 minutes helpful for that. Networking skills, empathy, okay. Financial acumen. So as you can see, people are identifying both skills and qualities that we can all work on. Great. Well, and the idea there again is to just start thinking about these things because it's not enough to just walk in and ask for that promotion. So once you have that list and you've identified those skills, you want to be sure that you are you're asking for feedback. And I'm going to just walk through a few specific ways to do that, because what we often hear from people is you ask for feedback and your boss tells you, oh, you did a great job, or you're doing fine. And that isn't the roadmap you need to get a promotion. So here are some specific things that you can say. First, you want to make sure that you're asking for feedback close in time or proximity to the event or the work that you've done. You want to make sure you're asking for it privately and when the person giving feedback has had a chance to prepare. So this is not something where you catch someone in the hallway and say, hey, how am I doing? You want to say, hey, I'd love some feedback from you. Any chance we could talk about that in my one-on-one next week, or any chance I could get on your calendar? So they have time to reflect, and you want to ask for it often. The first time you ask for feedback should not be 2 weeks before you make a pitch for promotion. You want to do this on a regular basis, at least quarterly. And here's how. One way is to give yourself negative feedback first. So you might say something, and this is again, assuming you have a boss who is leery about giving feedback, which we often hear from supervisors. They're afraid that if they give negative feedback, the recipient will either cry, yell, or sue. Those are always the things that we hear. So these strategies are to help you avoid that. So give yourself negative feedback first. Say, I know I tend to speak quickly. I don't always let other people jump in. I'd like to get better at that. Do you have any thoughts on how I could improve? Then after they answer, what else could I be working to improve right now? So you're coming into the conversation assuming there are areas to improve, and you're showing you've thought it through. Second strategy is to make the feedback a part of your overall commitment to professional development. So I've made a commitment to improve in 3 specific areas over the next quarter or next year. I'd appreciate any thoughts you have on what those areas should be. And then once you've heard what they have to say, I'd be grateful if you could help me keep the commitment I've made to improve in whatever area they've identified, assuming you're committed to doing that. And the advantage of that approach is it shows that you're taking your career seriously. It shows that you are assuming you have room for improvement, and you're getting their buy-in into helping you improve, which helps make them more invested in your career. Strategy 3 is to reframe negative feedback to focus on the learning opportunity. So if somebody's reluctant to offer negative feedback, you just say, what's something you think I could learn from this project? Or what's something you think I could learn from you? So that can be a great strategy to focus on learning. Strategy 4, minimize the impact of negative feedback proactively so they know you're not going to overreact. And the way you do that is say, if I could change just one small thing about how I handle this situation or these types of assignments, what could it be? And that can open the door. And I want to note too, I'm suggesting you say, what could it be rather than what should it be? Just because what could it be has more of a tone of, it's a possibility rather than them directing you, which some supervisors shy away from. And then our last strategy is to dig into compliments. So when somebody says you did a great job on that project, say thank you. Can I ask if there's anything specific that stood out that I should be sure to repeat? And then you ask, what could I do differently next time? All right, so hopefully that's helpful as you think about how to get the feedback that you need so that you can work on addressing those skills and figure out what areas to work on. All right, so step 5 is to be proactive in building relationships. And there's 2 parts to that, with your boss and then with others. That Henley Business School study found employees who put in the work to build good relationships with their supervisors were 82% more likely to get promoted compared to colleagues who hadn't done that. So some ways you can do that without being a brown noser are doing things like offering regular updates, preparing for your one-on-one, taking that seriously, and taking an interest in your boss as a human being. Again, this is not about becoming best friends or feeling inauthentic. It's just about, asking someone how their weekend was and pausing to hear the answer, just building that relationship. And it's very similar for building relationships beyond your boss. You've got to be proactive, especially now. It isn't enough to impress your own boss, both because your immediate supervisor may not have the authority to make promotion decisions alone, may not be the sole decision maker, but also because the ability to establish rapport with people on your team and in other departments makes you much more likely to be promoted. That Henley Business School study found 74% of people who were promoted cited the fact that they had built good relationships with non-supervisors. The easiest way to build those relationships is to show up. You show up to cross-team meetings, to town halls, you have your camera on, you contribute meaningfully where you can, and you come early to meetings so that you have that chance for the chit chat that we don't have if we're all on Zoom and we're just screeching in and logging on at the last possible moment. And another thing you can do is to volunteer to be on a cross-team task force or working group and take advantage of those opportunities. Step 6 is really to engage, very similar to showing up, have your camera on, come to meetings with ideas and thoughts ready to contribute, and step up. You've probably been advised at some point, ask your boss what they're working on and if you can help. That same advice really extends to colleagues, especially in flatter hierarchies and places where 360s are common and going to be an important factor to your advancement. Step 7 is to build your visibility, and that starts with inside your organization, but is also outside. So you can do that by submitting achievements to the office newsletter. When you're speaking on a panel or doing something like that, send the information around to your team and to people who might be interested so that they know what you're doing. And being willing to volunteer on committees that are high visibility. You want to avoid the housework committees, but look for things where you're going to actually be able to contribute to the bottom line or contribute meaningfully. And in terms of outside, engage on LinkedIn, including with people in your own organization, and then also join industry groups and get involved. Step 8 is to build a record. And what I mean by that is it starts with a record of your feedback. So often we jot down notes during a review, but never get our review forms. You want to keep all of that feedback as well as the informal feedback that you get. 88% of those promoted in that Henley Business School study did just that. And then you also want to keep a record of your work. What we often see is people can say, oh, I wrote this report. And that's great to know that information, but know why it mattered. So keep track of your big projects and how they contributed to the overall mission. So things like, say you ran the intern program. Don't just keep track of that. Keep track of, it was 10 interns, they contributed 2,000 hours that you estimate saved the business 1,000 hours of staff time, right? So that level of information, keeping track of that will help you make a much stronger case. Now, we're almost done with our steps, but step number 9 is to set goals for yourself. 79% of those interviewed said that setting goals for yourself, rather than waiting for them to be assigned to you, shows the initiative they're looking for when they're making promotion decisions. So I'm going to share information with you in a moment about a webinar on goal setting that you can attend for free that can be helpful for that step. And then finally, prepare your ask. You want to go back to what you've worked on in terms of your skills and your contributions, put together bullet points as talking points, maybe prepare a memo depending on how your employer does it. And you want to practice that conversation, which is so important. You want to practice it with a coach or a trusted mentor, or somebody who's neutral, and be ready to address who would take over your work if you'd be handing off duties, what support you would need to be able to succeed, and how you started working on that. So that's where being able to say, I identified these skills to work on and I have been doing it, can be really helpful. And you want to make sure that you provide everything your supervisor needs to make the case. So things like self-evaluations, those bullet points can really be helpful. And it's important that when you are preparing that ask, you have started laying the groundwork so that your boss is not surprised, that they know you are ambitious and want to be promoted. You also want to think through who else can help you. If you've worked with a supervisor on another team, if they could put in a good word, or if that might backfire, which is entirely possible. You also want to be conscious of timing. So at some employers, all decisions for promotions are made at the same time. If you're asking for something off cycle, you want to be sure that you ask after a big achievement or something good has happened. And you also need to understand that even if your boss wants to grant the promotion, they may have lots of hoops to jump through. So don't take it personally if it does take some time. Now, something that's controversial is whether you should get a competing offer. And a lot of people consider this promotion by hostage, right? They do not respond well to hearing that you have another offer, and that's why you want a promotion. It can help build your confidence to have another offer, but it really can also backfire. So you really need to know your employer and your boss. So those are the 10 steps that you want to be sure to take. Taking ownership, considering what you want to be known for, identifying the qualities and skills you need to succeed, asking for feedback, being proactive in that relationship building, engaging, building visibility, keeping a record, setting goals for yourself, and preparing your ask. So if you don't get the promotion you want, though, do remember that no usually means it's a not right now, given the circumstances, that it can change. Make sure you get guidance on what you need to do, and ideally a timeline for reconsideration. And then you want to make sure you follow through on that. Consider ways to raise your visibility and deepen relationships in the meantime. And also consider whether you can reshape your role. Some of the reasons that some of you identified that you want a promotion may be things that could be addressed by reshaping your role. And you can also consider whether you can address those reasons you wanted a promotion by other means. So some of you said you wanted to make a greater contribution. Well, maybe you join a mentoring program and start mentoring a U of C undergrad, or maybe you find volunteer work inside or outside work that can help you feel like you're contributing. And for those of you who would like more money, maybe you think about developing a side hustle or cutting expenses or looking for another position at another employer. All right, so next steps, because so those of you who have attended a webinar I've done before know that I always think you have to have a to-do list item when you leave. So next steps, you could attend a free goal achievement webinar. We have one coming up actually in a couple of weeks. If you're interested in that, you can just go to aposignup.com/achieve. And that really focuses on how you set yourself up to achieve goals at work and at home in 2022. So that's a great next step. And I want to ask you to share what has been most valuable for you. So we're going to do one last Menti, and Keitha put that, oh, I see it's already there in the chat. So if you could hop over there and share what's been most valuable for you. And with that, then we will have some time for questions. So you're welcome to share those questions in the chat. Let's see. Fred asked if there's differences between preparing for a promotion and how you prepare for your performance review. Yes, so with your performance review, you definitely want to prepare for a performance review, and some of this definitely overlaps. With a performance review though, you're usually focused on the ways that you're going to contribute next year in the same role, and much less on setting it up for how you're going to contribute in the next role. Remember that your promotion will be based in part on all the great things you brought to your current role, but it's also very forward-looking, which is why I encourage you to make that list of the skills and qualities that you need for that next role, so that you make it clear that you understand that what got you to be great in your current job is not necessarily sufficient to be great in the next. All right, what other questions do you have? And if you have a question that you'd like to unmute yourself, you're welcome to do that as well.
Hey, Fred here. I got another question. So 2022, our company's switching from kind of a promotion process where you can stay in the same role, get promoted after a couple of years there, and that was kind of standard practice. And now we're going to, I think it's called role-based promotions. And so the only way, say, for me to get a promotion is to go into a completely different role, which sounds a lot like we were talking about on this, but what are your thoughts on that versus the opportunity to get promoted in kind of the same role?
So I think that's that for a question like that, why don't you email either amy@apochromatik.com or keith@apochromatik.com, and we'll talk through it with you, because it seems like it's pretty fact specific and I don't want to steer you wrong. And I think we probably need a little more background on that one. But we're happy to do hop on Zoom with you and chat about it. All right, so let's see. Keith is sharing the what's most valuable for you. So focus on the value you bring, specific steps, understanding the process, visibility, the long game. Yes, how to prep, value, preparation, helpful process tips, know your value. Yes, measurable steps, reflection on strengths. Yes, good. All right. Oh, thank you. That's really nice of you. All right. Let's. Keith, can you stop sharing, and I'll just put up this last slide. So my email is down in the corner there. You should feel free to email me, connect with me on LinkedIn. Always glad to connect with you of C folks. And I think we have time for maybe one more question, but I don't see any in the chat. And I know, Dexter, you had some additional suggestions if you want to share those. Oh,
yes.
Oh.
Hi, everybody. It's me again, coming back. I just have to say I have learned so much. And I know that we're sharing a recording of this on our YouTube channel, but I have a notebook here just filled with helpful tips and tidbits. So thank you so much, Amy. And there might be another question that comes through, but in case there's not, I do also want to thank everyone for tuning in on, maybe your lunch hour if you're here in Chicago with us, or wherever you are in the world. We just really appreciate you showing up and discovering new ways to expand your career journey, or offer some extra professional development wisdom like we got today. So before we officially close out today's program, I'm going to also share a link in the chat. We've had quite a few today, and this is just a survey. We love hearing from everyone that attends our Career Month programming. So if you have any feedback for us in future planning or on this session in particular, please do share that with us. The link is, I just dropped that in. So please let me know if you have any issues with that. And Amy and Keith, thank you so much for all of your wisdom and your tips and these amazing measurable steps. I know that we've already gotten a few requests for more and recording and your presentation material. So I don't think I'm the only one walking away feeling inspired and like I've got some work to do, maybe to get that next promotion in the new year. So with that, thank you, everyone, and we hope you have a wonderful day. If you are interested in more, check out our alumni and friends.uchicago.edu website for more career month programming. This week is the end of our live programs, but next week we're starting our Thank a Mentor campaign. So we hope you'll stick around with us for a couple more weeks. And with that, that's everything I have, and I hope everyone has a wonderful day.
Thank you, everyone. The fact that you spent an hour on thinking about promotions bodes very well for your career in 2022. So thank you for joining us, and let me know how we could be helpful in the future. Have a great afternoon.